I know I went to college on a football scholarship, but somehow this math is not adding up to me. You're driving a car at roughly 160 miles an hour on a public street and end up killing a girl and her dog, and you get 3 to 10 years. You go to a hotel room that you're invited to retrieve your own personal stolen property I now have because it was ruled to be mine by the state of California. And you get 9 to 33 years. Same courthouse, same city, same state. I don't know. Somehow it just does not add up to me. I'm just saying.
Hi, welcome back to Life with Dr. Trish, where we discuss life stories, family backgrounds, and ancestry, and have conversations about so much more. I'm Dr. Trish Varner. I have a PhD in general psychology, and I've always been interested in DNA and experiences that shape us as people. Today's episode is the first of what most likely will be a 3-part series about the ancestry and family background of none other than O.J. Simpson, and how his lineage and life experiences may have led to what became one of the most talked about trials of the century, the People versus O.J. Simpson. In this episode, we will discuss O.J.'s ancestry, family, and background. In part 2, we will do a deep dive into the murders of Nicole Brown Simpson and her friend Ron Goldman, and the events that led up to O.J. being accused and tried for murder. In part 3, we will conclude the deep dive with an analysis of the case and the trial that rocked the nation. O.J., who passed away on April 10th, 2024, went to the grave declaring his innocence. Was he guilty? Were there other suspects who were missed? We are going to talk about it all in this 3-part series. I highly encourage you to subscribe and click on the notification bell so that you can be notified whenever I post new content. You don't want to miss any of these fascinating life stories that are coming each week on Life with Dr. Trish. But before we get started, today's video is sponsored by Factor. As a busy working mom, there is always something competing for my time. My kids like to stay active in several activities such as softball, dance, auditions, and more. Showing up to everything while also deciding what to feed them each day is challenging. Factor makes my life so much easier because it offers the convenience I need to prepare quick, easy, and healthy meals that my children love because they are also delicious. The convenience Factor provides not only saves my family a lot of time, but it also helps to alleviate my stress. I don't have to guess or think hard about what to make for dinner. Factor cuts out stressful meal planning and extensive prepping. Meals come together in just minutes, which gives me more time to spend with my kids and get them to the activities they love. Since my kids are so busy, we spend a lot of our time in the car, and there is a lot of temptation to go through a fast food drive-through when you're hungry and short on time. Factor helps us avoid fast food with no-nonsense, delicious food that's ready quickly. Factor's chef-prepared meals take the guesswork out of eating well, so you never have to opt for something that isn't good for you. This is important for my family because good nutritious food means we have the fuel we need every day to excel. Now my daughter, who plays softball, finds she has much more energy to perform well on the field when she eats good food. Factor provides that for us. My other daughter is a dancer, and I love providing her with healthy options to help her stay fit, but also satisfy her because the meals taste good. Factor provides that for families. Factor also helps me with my weight loss goals by offering low-calorie but tasty meal options. For all of us 40-year-olds, we know how difficult it can be to eat healthy meals that will help with our weight loss goals. Factor provides the low-calorie meal options we need. Factor even offers meals for those looking to follow a keto, vegan, or vegetarian lifestyle. Fitness starts with food, and Factor makes it possible for you to achieve your daily goals through nutritious, purposeful eating, ingredients with integrity, and dietitian approved. Get 50% off your first Factor box and free wellness shots for life using my link. That means you can choose 2 free wellness shots from 3 available flavors for every order while you are an active subscriber. Click the link in the description or scan the QR code with your phone. Thanks to Factor for sponsoring this video. Now back to today's video. O.J. Simpson has a controversial legacy. He first gained fame as a 2-time All-American halfback for the USC Trojans, setting NCAA records and winning the Heisman Trophy in 1968. He joined the Buffalo Bills professional team in 1969 and continued playing for them for 9 seasons. He was nicknamed the Juice for his quick speed on the field, and in 1973, he became the first NFL player to rush for more than 2,000 yards in a single season. O.J. had an extraordinary football career, establishing league records for touchdowns and rushing yards. He closed out his career with the San Francisco 49ers, which was his hometown team. He was inducted into the College Football Hall of Fame and the Pro Football Hall of Fame. After leaving football, O.J. went on to a profitable career as a sportscaster and an actor. He had roles in movies. He regularly appeared in TV commercials. He was a respected commentator for Monday Night Football. O.J. was charismatic, well-loved, and perhaps even idolized by some. He honestly probably could have succeeded in politics if things had gone differently. I actually had an epiphany while preparing this episode and learning more about O.J.'s background and makeup. O.J. very much reminds me of a political candidate that is running this year. Again, I will let you figure out who that might be. After you watch this episode, leave a comment and let me know if you agree. O.J. had the kind of success that transcended race. It surpassed his humble beginnings of poverty and being raised by a single mother. O.J. became an icon. He had money, friends, and a high-profile lifestyle. He had what some would call the dream life. He was the American success story that proved that anyone with any background could make it if they worked hard enough. His success proved that this had to be true. This made him accepted by both black and white people and all Americans, and dare I say, even the world. Celebrities of his caliber rarely are told no. They are used to receiving what they want. They expect to be admired, loved, accepted, and fawned over. It is like their rite of passage for gifting the world with their talent. It is like an unspoken contract between those being idolized and those needing to see something to aspire to. It doesn't matter that it's nearly impossible for the average person to obtain that level of success. They only need to see a handful of people do it to dispel all doubt that they may have had regarding their own potential. It makes an average person's reality more bearable while providing the applause and praise whom those like O.J. Simpson need to continue to function. However, OJ broke the mirage. He breached the unspoken agreement. His alleged behavior removed the veil from the public. He could no longer be seen as sort of an elected superhero. Within the black community, it started with OJ cheating on his first wife and ultimately divorcing her, leaving her to raise 2 children alone. OJ's first wife, Marguerite Whitley, is a black woman. She and OJ were high school sweethearts, marrying at just 19 years old. Marguerite supported OJ as his celebrity, fame, and popularity increased. The black community supported the couple as a successful power couple. The couple was married for 12 years during a time where black couples and families and black people in general struggled to close generational wealth gaps that are still, to this day, even seen between black families and white families. To put things in perspective, the nation was just a few years past the Civil Rights Movement. Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. was assassinated in 1968. The Loving versus Virginia case led to the U.S. Supreme Court ruling in 1967 that laws banning interracial marriage violate the equal protection and due process clauses of the 14th Amendment to the U.S. Constitution. O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown met in 1977, less than 10 years from monumental changes in the U.S. that ensured civil rights for all Americans. Seeing a successful black couple together in the public and in the media brought a sense of pride to the black community. It also demonstrated that black couples could succeed together and possibly even obtain the American dream together. However, the black community felt somewhat betrayed by OJ when he left his black family to start a new one with his new white wife. Many in the black community, even today, criticize black athletes and other celebrities who overwhelmingly choose a white spouse, perhaps as some would call a trophy or status symbol. As OJ became more accepted by white America, he seemed to disassociate himself more and more from black America. He would often say, "I'm not black, I'm OJ." He didn't feel obligated or even inspired to support black causes. Even his black friends started seeing him as somewhat of a sellout. His childhood friend Joe Bell said OJ lost his identity. He was not interested in uplifting the black community. OJ even acknowledged in interviews that he was only interested in himself and his family. He began to lose the support of the black community. However, the tables would turn during the trial where he was accused of killing his wife, Nicole Brown Simpson, and her friend Ron Goldman. We will discuss that in parts 2 and 3 of this 3-part series, so make sure you come back for the full series. O.J. Simpson's life revealed racial tensions far before the deaths of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman, far before the infamous White Broncos chase, and far before the trial that captivated the country. The black community wasn't the only community to feel betrayed by OJ. White America also felt betrayed. They had welcomed OJ. They accepted him. He became more than a black man. He was OJ, the superstar athlete with the dynamic and charismatic personality. He transcended the ideas of race. They looked at him as a successful man, not a black man, but a man, until they didn't. As a successful superstar athlete, OJ was considered a great catch. It didn't matter that he was already married with a family. OJ had money. He had money, y'all. He had success, and with all of that comes power. Marrying OJ meant leveling up. When OJ met Nicole Brown, she was an 18-year-old waitress at a Beverly Hills nightclub. OJ was 30 years old. They began dating in 1977 while OJ was still married to his first wife, Marguerite. Nicole allegedly slept with OJ on their first date. He quickly set her up in her own apartment and bought her a new car. Marguerite was even pregnant with their third child, Aaron, at the time. Unfortunately, Aaron died when she was 2 years old. It did not matter that OJ's first family was torn apart. OJ's affair with Nicole continued for 2 years before his divorce from Marguerite. OJ was considered a catch. The Brown family allegedly believed so. They allegedly encouraged their daughter to stay with OJ. The family allegedly benefited financially from the union between their daughter Nicole and OJ. OJ enabled Nicole's father, Louis, to invest in a lucrative Hertz car rental facility, which allegedly significantly benefited the Brown family financially. Allegedly, even after being aware that there was some domestic violence in the relationship, the Brown family still encouraged Nicole to be with OJ. Money is a powerful tool, y'all. In fact, arranged marriages have been happening for centuries to financially benefit the bride or groom's families. So OJ was considered a good catch, not just for black women, but for all women. Thus, white America was okay with OJ marrying Nicole. She was a beautiful young woman. He was a handsome, rich superstar athlete. They had 2 adorable children. They looked like the picturesque celebrity family. They looked happy. They looked like the example of a successful interracial family. For centuries, America painted a picture that it was dangerous for black men and white women to be together. White women needed to be protected from even the possibility of this union. Such fear led to the death of countless black men, including 14-year-old Emmett Till, who was brutally lynched after being accused of whistling at a white woman. OJ's decision to date Nicole Brown in 1977 was a testament that he knew his level of celebrity. And America was ready to test the waters. OJ and Nicole received society's blessing with conditions. They had to continue to present to the world as the perfect family, but we know the outcome. It wasn't to be so. The death of Nicole Brown meant OJ not only betrayed black America by choosing to leave his black wife to be with his new white wife, but it also meant that white America felt betrayed. After OJ was accepted and trusted, he betrayed those who believed in him. OJ was no longer the super successful celebrity that transcended race. He now represented every black man in America. He represented the danger that white America tried for so many years to protect its young women from. OJ had betrayed white America. He was caught between a rock and a hard place. What led OJ to this pivotal moment? Who were his people? What is the family tree that helped to make OJ Simpson? For the rest of this episode, part 1 of this 3-part series, we will discuss the people and experiences that helped to shape OJ Simpson. In part 2, we will discuss the events that led up to OJ being accused and tried for murder. In part 3, we will analyze the trial and the decision of the jury. Make sure you subscribe and turn on your notification bell to catch all 3 episodes. Please also leave your comments and thoughts. O.J. Simpson was born Orenthal James Simpson on July 9th, 1947 in San Francisco, California. Allegedly, O.J. was named by his aunt, who said the name Orenthal was the name of a French actor she liked. O.J.'s parents were Eunice Durden and Jimmy Lee Simpson. O.J.'s mother, Eunice Durden, was born on October 23, 1921 in Rodessa, Louisiana, a very small town near Shreveport, Louisiana. To put the town's size in perspective, in 1970, Rodessa, Louisiana had a population of less than 400 people. In 2020, it had a population of less than 300 people. Most of the families who lived in Rodessa during that time were cotton worker families. The Durden family was a family of farmers and eventually owned 200 acres of land. However, in 1930, oil was discovered near Rodessa, which changed the makeup of the town. By 1936, Rodessa led the oil-filled communities in the area, and its population rose to 10,000 residents. By 1940, rent prices in Rodessa rose to $400 per month, which is very expensive for that time. To put this in perspective, $400 in 1940 is worth $8,923.77 in 2024. However, as oil dried up in Rodessa, the population also declined. Some of O.J. Simpson's ancestors remained in Rodessa and were buried there. O.J.'s mother, Eunice, and her family lived in Rodessa or a nearby town in the 1930 census and 1940 census. Eunice married O.J.'s father, James Jimmy Lee Simpson, in 1941 in Shreveport, Louisiana. Eventually, the couple relocated to San Francisco, California, where the couple's 4 children were raised. Eunice worked as a nurse's aide for the San Francisco General Hospital. Eunice and Jimmy Lee separated when O.J. was just 5 years old. However, the couple did not divorce until 1968. Eunice raised their 4 children alone in the Betrayal Hill housing projects near the San Francisco Bay, a project community that was very dangerous. Eunice did the best she could raising her children while working, despite having some health issues. She had debilitating arthritis that eventually made it difficult for her to walk. Eunice was wheelchair-bound in her 70s by the time she attended O.J.'s trial in 1994. She testified in her son's trial and described how she had a hard life as a divorced single mother of 4. She passed away at the age of 80 in 2001. O.J. was the third of 4 children. He had 2 sisters and 1 brother. All O.J.'s siblings preceded him in death. His sister Shirley, who was the oldest, passed away in 2023 at the age of 79. She supported her brother throughout his legal troubles and even had regular visits and weekly phone calls throughout O.J.'s time in jail for armed robbery and kidnapping, charges we will also discuss in part 2. O.J.'s brother Melvin passed away in 2021. Like their father, Melvin served in the military, specifically the Vietnam War. When he was in his 50s, he drove for the San Francisco Airporter shuttle. Tragically, he struck a guardrail while driving the shuttle in 2005, which led to a passenger dying and 6 other passengers being injured. Melvin also owned a limo driving service. Other than the tragic shuttle accident, Melvin was described as a hardworking and law-abiding man. O.J.'s sister, Carmelita, who was also the youngest, passed away in 2009 at 60 years old. Carmelita was said to first experience health issues at her brother OJ's Las Vegas trial, where OJ was convicted of robbery and kidnapping and was sentenced to 33 years in prison. Carmelita collapsed in the courtroom when the verdict was read. She passed away about 3 weeks later. OJ's mother, Eunice, appeared to have raised her children to be close and loving. They supported one another. Despite your feelings about OJ, I think we can still acknowledge the hard work that Eunice put in to raise her children as good people. It couldn't have been easy to raise 4 children in the projects while working to care for them. You might be wondering, well, where was OJ's father? James Jimmy Lee Simpson, O.J. Simpson's father, was born January 28, 1920, in Wilmar, Arkansas. He served in the U.S. Army in World War II. After meeting and marrying Eunice in Rodessa, Louisiana, the couple moved to San Francisco. The couple separated in 1952 and divorced in 1968. The separation may have been highly influenced by the fact that Jimmy was allegedly gay. He was a well-known drag queen for a good part of his adult life, going by the name Mama Simpson. Jimmy died in 1986 at 66 years old, allegedly of AIDS, although his obituary claims he died from cancer. Jimmy was employed by the Federal Reserve Bank in San Francisco for 35 years. I don't know for sure why Jimmy was not fully involved in raising his children, or at least in providing for them financially, especially considering it seems he had a stable job. Perhaps it was the fact that he allegedly came out as gay, which may have been an issue during the marriage. But that's still not an excuse to avoid the responsibility of his children. However, his children and family were with him during his last days, and their mother, Eunice, was buried next to him. I don't know if that was her decision before she died, or if it was something their children decided. The couple was divorced for over 30 years before Eunice passed away, so it seems unusual to have them buried next to each other. Jimmy Lee's obituary said he was a devoted member of Tabernacle of Faith Church in the Bay Area. OJ was quoted in a 1977 Parents Magazine interview as saying, "I resented his absence, especially when I became a teenager and was trying to find out who I was. I really needed a man around then for guidance. I get along with my father now, but it's taken years for me to come to terms with my feelings," end quote. However, OJ may not have accepted his father as gay. In one of Nicole Brown's diary entries, she wrote, quote, "Hawaii, gay man kissed Justin, their son. OJ threw me against walls in our hotel and on the floor, put bruises on my arms and back. The window scared me, thought he'd throw me out," end quote. OJ's views on homosexuality seem to have changed, though. By 2021, he was publicly announcing his support of athlete Carl Nassib, who openly announced he is gay.
Conversation today is about Nassib, the Raider defensive player who, I guess, came out of the closet, so to speak. Hey, man, more power to you, man. That's terrific. And the $100,000 that you donated to that charity is just over the top. I mean, that's really something special. You know, over the years, people have asked me, "Hey, man, did you play with gay athletes?" Of course I did. They're everywhere. I mean, every profession is no different in football as it would be in whatever, you know, post office workers, police departments, any profession, you have it. I mean, they may not come out, but they're there. Trust me, I saw an announcer today, an ex-player, said he played 14 years, and he kind of said, well, I never really played with a gay athlete. I said, you got to be kidding me. I started laughing. Of course you have. You just have not played with an openly gay athlete. In any event, more power to him. They said, go ahead.
When O.J. Simpson was 2 years old, he contracted rickets, which is the softening and weakening of bones in children, which is usually caused by a vitamin D deficiency. This caused O.J. to be pigeon-toed and bow-legged. To correct the issue, he had to wear specialized shoes connected by an iron bar for a few hours almost every day until he was 5 years old. Growing up in a single-parent household with a working mother and no father around, O.J. started getting into trouble as an early teen. He joined a street gang and was arrested and put into a youth facility for a brief time. His first wife, Marguerite, allegedly said he did some pretty bad things when he was young. O.J. was a product of his environment. His high school friend, Joe Bell, said, quote, he's a great guy, but he wasn't any angel. If circumstances had been just slightly tilted, instead of a football star, he could have been public enemy number one, end quote. O.J. decided to change his reputation after discovering his talent in football. He played while in high school, but he was a poor student and had bad grades. He didn't receive any scholarship offers from high school. However, after breaking records in junior college, he received multiple university offers. He chose Southern Cal. O.J. worked on putting his past behind him and worked towards being a role model, using his charismatic personality to win fans regardless of race. Where might O.J. have gotten some of his personality traits? Let's explore more about his family tree. We already discussed O.J.'s father's controversial background. Outwardly, it may appear that O.J. and his father, Jimmy Lee Simpson, did not have much in common. However, if you dig through the layers, you may see that they both wanted to be loved publicly. They wanted to be admired. They wanted fame. Jimmy Lee dressed as a drag queen and performed in shows. O.J. performed on the field and sought to become a public idol. Jimmy Lee's father's name was Arthur Simpson, O.J.'s paternal grandfather, who was born on April 6, 1900 in Arkansas. He enlisted in the military in World War I. He was described as a short man with a medium build. His occupation was listed as farming, an occupation that many of O.J.'s family members did while living in the South. The Simpson family lived in Wilmot, Arkansas. Arthur Simpson died in 1976 in Arkansas at the age of 76. His father, Peter Simpson, O.J.'s paternal great-grandfather, was born in 1854 in Alabama. Peter Simpson married Elizabeth Drayton, O.J.'s paternal great-grandmother, in 1885 in Arkansas. Elizabeth was born around 1856. This is where this line ended, as Peter Simpson and Elizabeth Drayton were likely born into slavery. Jimmy's mother's name was Pearlie Mae Potter, O.J.'s paternal grandmother. There was no record of Pearlie Mae marrying Jimmy Lee's father. However, she did marry Lindsay Wimberly after Jimmy Lee was born, and Lindsay Wimberly was listed as Jimmy Lee's stepfather in Jimmy's obituary. Both Pearlie Mae and Lindsay Wimberly outlived Jimmy Lee. Pearlie Mae and Lindsay lived in Arkansas before moving to Los Angeles, where they died. Pearlie's parents were Will Potter, born in 1881, and Mattie Miles, born in 1889, O.J.'s great-grandparents. They lived in Wilmot, Arkansas. Will went to school up to the 4th grade, and his occupation was listed as farmer. Maddie, OJ's great-grandmother, was born in Louisiana. In the 1900 census, Maddie was still living with her parents in Louisiana. She was 15 years old. By the 1910 census, Maddie was living in Arkansas with her husband Will. They had 3 children in 1910. Maddie could read and write. Her mother, Nora Miles, was born in 1873 in Louisiana, and her father, Dennis Miles, was born in 1855 in Maryland. Maddie lived until 1981. She was 92 years old. In the OJ Made in America documentary, one person who was interviewed said concerning OJ, quote, "He's African, but he's a good-looking man. You know, he almost has white features. He wasn't the typical black look, African look," end quote. When O.J. Simpson and Nicole Brown Simpson brought their daughter Sydney Brooke Simpson to the world, Nicole made a comment that Sydney did not look black. Sydney and her little brother Justin Ryan Simpson are biracial. Sydney had blonde hair like her mother when she was a little girl, and she and Justin had straighter hair or slightly wavy hair at best. However, most Black Americans who are descendants of slavery are multi-generationally mixed, having anywhere between 15 to 30% white American ancestry. OJ most likely also fell into this range. This would mean that technically Sydney and Justin would have more European ancestry than African ancestry. For instance, if OJ was something like 70% African and 30% European, then the children he had with Nicole would roughly have around 35% African ancestry and 65% European ancestry. OJ's ancestors I have already named were listed as Black or Negro in the census reports. However, OJ did have some mixed ancestry through his mother's line. His mother, Eunice Durden's parents were Dennis Dan Durden and Patsy Sewell. Patsy's parents were Sam Sewell and Katie Herndon. Katie Herndon looks obviously mixed race. She was the daughter of John Frederick Herndon and Lou Patsy. John Frederick was a white man who lived from 1796 through 1881. He was born in Virginia and died in Louisiana. Lou Patsy Charles Herndon was an enslaved black woman born around 1817 in Virginia. She was 21 years younger than John. John Frederick was her enslaver. He emancipated her in 1840. She had 5 children, most likely with her enslaver, John Frederick. All of Lou Patsy's children were born free. She died between 1880 and 1900 in Louisiana and is said to be buried near John Frederick. However, her grave has not been found. John Frederick Herndon and Lou Patsy would be O.J. Simpson's great-great-grandparents. O.J. also allegedly had a convicted murderer in his family tree. His name was Curtis Durden, and he was O.J.'s maternal great-grandfather. O.J.'s mother, Eunice Durden, was the daughter of Dennis Dan Durden and Patsy Sewell. Dennis Durden's parents were Curtis Durden and Lucinda Bayless. Curtis was born in 1847 in Louisiana. There is a newspaper article that shows Curtis got into some trouble. The New Orleans, Louisiana newspaper was dated Wednesday, October 17th, 1894. Curtis would have been 47 years old, ironically close to the same age O.J. was when he was accused of murdering Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. The article about O.J. Simpson's great-grandfather, Curtis Durden, read like this. Shreveport, Louisiana, October 16th. In the district court, Judge A.D. Land presiding. Sentence was passed today on 2 Negroes. Will Clay, convicted of murder, is to hang on a day to be fixed by the governor. He waylaid and killed Will McLean on the Robson plantation after a dance. The difficulty arose over a woman. Curtis Durden is sentenced to life imprisonment in the penitentiary. He waylaid and killed Stokes Walton near Greenwood. Well, Lucinda Bayliss wanted to protect her son from being judged for his father's actions, so she listed her son under a different name in the 1900 census. Her son, Dennis Dan Durden, would have been 17 years old in the year 1900. His mother, Lucinda, listed his name as Dennis Dan, dropping the official last name of Durden, and she also listed his mother as Mandy Draper. You never know what you might find when you dig in a family tree. What does seem to happen sometimes is repeating cycles. Depending on whether you believe OJ was innocent or guilty, you may see a repeating pattern here as well. The difference is OJ's great-grandfather was convicted for murder, whereas OJ was exonerated. I do still think it's very interesting information. And this is where we will stop for this episode. But we have tons more to talk about. So I invite you to come back for parts 2 and 3, where we will be diving into the events that led up to the murder of Nicole Brown Simpson and Ron Goldman. We will also discuss the trial and go through the evidence. We will talk about alternative suspects. We will talk about the civil case and the criminal case that ultimately landed OJ in prison for several years. If you would like to follow along with this series and other fascinating life stories, I highly encourage you to subscribe and turn on the notification bell so that you will be notified when I post new content. If you have made it all the way to the end, I want to let you know that I very much appreciate you. Thank you for supporting the channel, and I look forward to chatting with you again in the next episode.